Championship weekend. It is a beautiful Thursday morning at Bree Stevens Field in Madison. And over the next hour and a half, we'll chat with the four coaches and 8 players from the 4 participating teams, starting with Liam Kreiss of the Oakland Spiders. Liam, thank you for being here. Exciting time for the Spiders. You took over this team in the aftermath of a heartbreaking playoff loss that you were not directly involved in. And considering you had never coached pro Frisbee before, how would you characterize what the roller coaster was like in terms of preparing for the season, believing in yourself, getting the team to believe in you, and how have the pieces all fallen into place for you to be here today?
Yeah, thank you. Our team has gone through so much growth this year. I think, like you said, we had a really tough, heartbreaking finish last year, and that lit such a fire under this team. And every single player wanted to come back, wanted to be better, wanted to learn from our mistakes, and that has been such a theme for us over the course of this year, where any struggle we have, any challenge we face, we don't view that as like an obstacle. We view it as something that we can learn from, something that we can overcome. We've definitely had our share of challenges over the course of the season. We had a really tough loss to Minnesota earlier, and that just got the team so excited. It refocused everyone. We're really hoping to see them again at championship weekend, and I think it's just been a process of continually learning. And I think our team is one of the best learning teams, one of the best teams at improving, and so I think we're going to be ready for championship weekend.
Liam, congratulations again on making it here. Great to see the Spiders back. I'm curious about your offense's ability to seemingly kind of slot in different players in different spots and still operate really effectively. It's no secret that you had a couple of injuries that you were dealing with on both lines throughout the season, but I just want to know like where and how that comes from and how you're able to distribute and balance the attack so effectively.
Yeah, I think that's a testament to the depth of our team. The Bay Area has such a pool of talent, and we were so lucky on Spiders this year to have some incredible players from so many different levels of the sport. We have some fantastic youth players, we have some fantastic college players, some amazing club adult players, and it's been a really smooth blend of that, I think, this season. I feel like everyone can learn from each other, like everyone has something to offer. And so whether it's Walker, who has a club national championship, he has a lot of success in college, or Muhammad, who's 18 years old and hasn't stepped foot in a college game yet, we have so much belief in every player on our team. We know that they've played Frisbee for so long, they've put in the work, they are ready for the big moment. And so we're going to continue to rely on that depth at championship weekend.
Liam, you are a young coach. You're 28 years old. This is your second season coaching anything. You coached a year of college. Now here you are on the biggest stage of the sport. What has you ready for this moment?
I think the team has me ready. I've felt so much support from leadership, from the players, from the other coaches. I'm a new coach, but Joey Ricks, our assistant coach, was here last year, and he did a great job of helping keep the ship stable from the huge growth we saw last year with Caleb under helm. And I just view every day as a chance to get better. Like, I totally recognize that I lack experience, but I think I just want to keep getting better. And maybe with that lack of experience comes like extra lack of ego, where I just truly want to get better every day. I have no expectation to be the peak of what I will be. And so every day I have a chance to learn from some amazing players on the team, amazing coaches on the team. I want to shout out Robin, Evan, and Leo, our captains of the team, who, like, every week we have our meetings and we talk in so much depth, and I've learned so much from them. There's experienced players on the team like Nick Tolfa, Matt Crawford, and Mac Hecht was a practice player for us as well, and they all offered some great wisdom. And I think just being a sponge for all the fantastic Frisbee knowledge that we have on our team and in the Bay Area. Some other inspirations of mine are like Malika Anderson with Revolver and Maddie Sang with Fury, and they have done their part in like helping me prepare for this moment as well. So I just feel so lucky to be part of a Frisbee community that encourages young players, young coaches, young people to do their best and continue to learn and get better.
Liam, looking at the matchup tonight with New York, obviously I think it's a battle of strength on strength when you look at offense and defense. What are some of the challenges you see with this New York offense for your defensive line, and what are you looking to do to kind of combat some of those challenges?
Yeah, this is a fantastic, historical New York offense in a lot of ways. And we see the stats, we look at all those things. Like Shown Space has done such a good job of helping the game come to life for the analytic-minded people who want to look past just goals and assists and turnovers. And so it's been a really fun puzzle to try to solve. Like, huge respect to New York as a program, as a team this year. We know that they're going to come to compete, and we have so much faith in our defense. Like, this has been, I think, a historically strong defense from the Spiders as well, and so we absolutely feel prepared to bring our best against them.
Liam, we talk a lot about, experience and how, your team does have a lot of high-end ultimate Frisbee experience. However, heading into these playoffs, your roster only had 56 total playoff games and was the least out of any of the playoff teams. Do you view that as a problem going up against a team like New York who has a ton of experience being in this moment, and how do you kind of maneuver those moments throughout the course of the game?
Yeah, great question. I think it's something that we talked about a lot in the offseason. We know that our Salt Lake loss in playoffs last year was difficult, and as everything that we face that's difficult, it's a learning opportunity. It's been a huge focus of us in practice to get experience in high-pressure situations, to have not just the people on the field contributing to that atmosphere, but also the people on the sideline. We've had some fantastic sidelines that have felt like just as loud as games. So while we haven't had playoff games in front of big fans, we have had these practices with the pressure, where I think that's the most you can do to prepare for these moments. And I think as we saw in the Salt Lake game, in the fourth quarter, we held strong when things were challenging. We got a couple of big breaks, and when our defense had to hold the disc for as much time as they needed, we saw that patience, and that was built in practice. So I feel so confident that we've prepared for these moments. Our players have been here in other competition levels, whether it's like youth championship, high school championship, club championship, and then we also have Tony Goss and Jason Valley, who have been to the UFA championship weekend before, so we're leaning on their expertise as well to make sure we're covered.
You got the chance to play Minnesota in the season. I know you're missing a couple of key guys. Very close, exciting game. What do you take away from that loss, your only one of the season?
Yeah, as I said earlier, it was such a refocusing moment for us, where things had been pretty smooth. We had started the season with some dominant wins against some really strong teams, and we had to look ourselves in the mirror and say, like, we are not the best team in the league right now, but we can be. And we are 1 point away, a couple end of quarter situations away, where if we put in the work right now, we can have the success that we want. And so that's been a reminder for us, and I think we've put in the work. I think we're ready, but man, would we love to see Minnesota in the finals.
Liam, last question. Injuries have been a part of the story for the Spiders. How do you view your team's health and some of the top players that missed the West Final? Can you update us on their status and what you expect from them tonight? Any limitations?
As far as we know, they're good to go. We've been checking in on them probably every hour. I'm sure they're annoyed of getting our text message status update questions, but we have so much faith in them. Like, they know their bodies, they know how to take care of themselves. They are professionals in every sense of the word, and we feel like the players that we've trusted all season to deliver are going to be there for us tonight.
Great stuff. Liam, thank you so much. Best of luck tonight.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Liam Kreiss, the head coach of the Spiders, and we'll welcome in Oakland captain Evan Magsig here momentarily. Just getting underway here on a semifinal Thursday. Check, 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 1, 2, 3. I'm going to assume everybody can hear me. Evan, thank you for being here. You don't have a microphone now. We were get a microphone set up here for Evan Magsig. Apologies for the technical difficulties. All right. Evan, thanks for being here. You've been part of this team since 2021. This is your first appearance at championship weekend. Obviously, a lot of history with the Spiders when you joined the team. What has the build been like for you, both as a player and a leader, and what does it feel like to be here?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just want to say it feels incredible to be here. It's been a long road with a lot of like heartbreaking losses kind of on the way to champ weekend, and being here, being a part of this experience it's really one of a kind, and I'm here right now, but I know I want to be back here in the future and want to keep coming back as much as I can. But yeah, it's been a really long road. I think it started like in 2021 or 2022 when we moved the team from San Jose to Oakland, and that was my first year on the team. And I think what really drew me into the Spiders in the UFA was there were three guys who were like the primary leaders, Keenan Lawrence, Jackson Stearns, and Dan Silverstein, and they all had so much passion and pride for not only like not only the Spiders themselves, but for the city of Oakland too. So it was hard not to fall in love with the dream of playing like professional Frisbee, professional sports in a major city that, as we were going through the A's leaving, the Raiders leaving, and everything like that, Spiders came to the Bay. They wanted to be here, and we were proud to be here. And from then on, Dan, the coach back then, put a lot of the systems and passion and commitment in place for us to be successful. And every year, I think that's why you've seen us get so much better. We've had such a strong foundation of commitment and strategy and buy-in. And every year we've added just slightly more and more talent, and that's why we're here today.
Evan, congratulations on making it here.
Sorry, do you think you could speak up? I can't really hear you.
Oh, sorry. We're just saying congratulations on making it here.
Thank you.
We've reported on the personnel switch within your grouping about you playing a lot more defense, Dan Ritthaler shifting to offense. I'd love to hear your recounting of how that came about, and I'd also love to hear, were you imagining it to be as effective as it has been and produce the results that it has this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we try to do and what I try to lead with every year is to really like ask questions and, question, have we really hit our ceiling as a team, and what do we need to do in order to explore new possibilities and get better as a team? And I think one of the things that was going through my mind is we have a lot of really young players on this team who've played a lot of Frisbee within our systems. And I felt like I had played 3 years of offense. Dan had played about 3 years of defense. And I thought we were doing both pretty well in our respective roles. And I think like from an individual perspective, there was really a lot of room to grow from giving Dan more opportunities to be around the disc. And I felt like with my offensive experience, I could really help some of our D-line conversion rates. I think last year we were around 50% D-line conversion. And I think I felt pretty confident that I'd be able to come in and help on that side of the ball. And Dan is someone who ever since he like came onto the team, every challenge we've thrown at him, he's stepped up and even surpassed expectations. So I don't think I maybe anticipated him. I don't know what his plus minus is, like over 50 in like 9 games, something like that. That's pretty absurd, and MVP level stuff. I don't know if I expected that, but I certainly expected him to, rise to the level that we were offering and surpass expectations, which, he's just an incredible person, an incredible player.
Yeah, and going back to that West Division Championship game this year, obviously you're missing 2 of your top guys, Dan being one of them, Walker being another.
Yeah.
They're now back in the fold, but talk to me about how some of those guys that stepped up in that championship game to get you here are going to impact the game tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a ton of talent across our roster, and a ton of, despite being a relatively young roster, a lot of experience playing in high-pressure situations and knowing what it feels like to, unfortunately, lose those games, right? Like, every single stage, basically, you could think for us to lose in the last 3 years we've lost, right? We lost to get into the playoffs. We lost in the first round of the playoffs. We lost in the championship game last year. Like, people know what it feels like to lose, and people really don't want to do that. And I think that's a really strong motivator. But on top of that, like, some of our guys who are super young have been playing in these high pressure situations, you know, at club nationals. I think Stephon McCall played a really great, like, excellent game in the West Division Championship, and he just came off of like a U20 like run where he was like one of the most important players on Team USA. So, you know, all of our guys have experience, whether it's, you know, losing in these big important moments, playing in these championship games, or you know, elsewhere outside of the UFA.
Liam, your coach mentioned shown space and how you guys use some of those resources. In full disclosure, shown space is run by a member of the New York Empire.
Totally.
And shown space also gives the Spiders the least chance to win this weekend of anybody.
Yeah.
How do you react when you see that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a numbers guy. I love advanced stats. I think it's what they're doing for the sport is absolutely awesome, and you know, I hope it really revolutionizes some of the thinking around you know, how we think about Frisbee. And I think like some of the things that they've been doing, like with the, I think I forget what the advanced stat that they have is, but I think that's great. I think visualizing the game as two lines against each other, like O-line versus D-line and D-line versus O-line, I think that's awesome. And Braden Everhard, he's a really, really smart guy, and he played on Salt Lake too. So, you know, I have a lot of respect for him, but I really hope we can beat him and show him that he needs to work on his model. Yeah.
Is there a chance you'll be guarding him on the field tonight?
I mean, he plays offense and I play defense, so we could see. We'll see what happens.
Why do you, last question, Evan, why do you believe in this team so much that you can come here and win 2 games in most of your team's first experience at championship weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think like when you don't have the championship experience like some of these other teams, you really need to believe like that your processes are significantly better, and you have advantages in other ways. Like superior strategy or superior discipline or decision making. And I think, like Liam said, one of the things he's brought to this team has been practicing in these tight moments, in these high pressure moments, like how do we want to be as a team. And I think our practices this year have been so high level, so competitive, and so meaningful. And our process, I think, over the last 3 or 4 years has been really, really strong. And I think this is the best version of the Spiders that we've ever seen. And I know we have a ton of room to keep getting better as well. So I believe in our process. I believe in our practices. I believe in our personnel and our decision making. And that's why I have confidence in our team.
Evan, great stuff. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll bring up the guy you traded lines with, Daniel Ritthaler, to wrap up our Spiders segment.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Evan. Great first name, by the way. All right, Daniel, thank you for being here. I know it's been a wild, turbulent summer for you and for a lot of your teammates. Can you speak for all the Spiders that just came from Ireland and say, how are you feeling? What has the transition been like after winning gold in Limerick on Saturday to resetting and preparing for this moment tonight?
Yeah, I think we're all obviously super stoked that we won in Ireland, and it was an amazing experience. A lot of bonding with those guys, and like fortunately we knew this weekend was coming, or this like end of week was coming for a few months now, so we were pretty ready to flip the switch regardless of the results, and we're really happy it went our way. But this is like really important other goal of ours, and so we're all ready to go and ramped up for this week.
Daniel, this is career highs across the board for you offensively. Even if you combine your first 2 seasons, they're still career highs. How much of that is the opportunity, and how much of that is you taking a step forward as a player?
Yeah, I mean, I think the opportunity is huge, especially in the UFA, getting like a lot of the offensive reps. There's also the timeouts that get the O-line out on the field, so there's just such a higher volume of points being played, especially with the disc, that I think it's natural that the numbers increase. So I'd give a lot of the credit to the opportunity given from the coaches and Evan and the rest of the team. And as far as like taking a step, I think I'm always really hungry to keep growing and keep improving. And so feeling fortunate that I've been able to like improve, but we're really more focused on the numbers of all of it in terms of wins.
Daniel, we talked with Evan and Liam about, you know, how you guys have had some of your impact players out, you including, for some of the games this year. And, you know, this is going to be the first game where you guys have, you know, your full roster set. How much conversation is happening between the entire team of, you know, is there any worry of fluidity between everyone? Is there a worry that there's going to be chemistry hiccups? What are those conversations like between you and the rest of the team?
Yeah, I think like firstly, we're just really excited to have everybody back, and we also appreciate everybody that played and is either like with the team not playing or back home not playing, for like how much they contributed on and off the field, like for the team. I think there's always going to be some chemistry concerns, but the coaches have done a great job of like being super organized with strategy and roles. So I think we've done our best to make it so that people are ready to play within their role and understand where everyone else is going to be playing on the field too. And fortunately, like whether it's at like practices or club events, there's a pretty good amount of overlap where we've had a chance to get reps together if it wasn't necessarily on the pro field.
Daniel, it feels like your group has been fortunate to face some pretty great defenses throughout the course of the season, whether it was Minnesota traveling to Oakland or battling against Salt Lake a couple times. What do you think is going to be unique about the defensive challenges that New York poses in tonight's semi?
Yeah, I mean, they're an experienced team. They've won. They know what the level is that you need to bring. We obviously have a tremendous amount of respect for both their strategy and also the like individual talent across the board. I think mainly we're just have a lot of respect for those guys, what they can do both athletically and how they play as a team. I think they're really good at seeing the field, peeling off when they need to, but also being able to like stick tight to a hip at the same time. So really excited to face that level of competition with our guys.
You missed some time this season. You played limited minutes at Worlds, but you played in the bracket and contributed a lot. Are you at 100%?
Close, yeah. I feel by the time it's game time, especially at Worlds, I was feeling at 100 going, and fortunately we got a big afternoon of warm-ups today, and I was already starting a little bit before this here. So yeah, by the time the game's been going, I've been feeling at or near 100% for all those days of Worlds, and I've been feeling really good, getting at least a couple days to just chill and rest in between the tournament and now too. So took advantage of that as much as I could, so feeling good.
Daniel, last question. I want to ask you about your head coach. Caleb obviously did a good job last year and seemed to be pretty well respected, and life took him away from this opportunity. Liam comes in, he's a relatively unknown guy. What have you seen from Liam in terms of both taking ownership and being humble as he's tried to lead this team to a championship?
Yeah, I think we were really bummed to see Caleb go, and I think he did a great job with us, and Liam's done an amazing job as well. I think something that makes me like really want to fight for Coach Liam is how much he puts into the team, and like how organized he is, how much he gives to every player, how open he is to giving feedback, sending individual film clips, all things like that. Just anytime a coach like shows that they care so much about the team's success in all of those little ways, really makes it a lot easier as a player to both respect and trust what they're saying, but also want to like give that level as well to the team too. So I think from the very start, he's treated it like a professional operation, and that's very much like worn off on the team, both like consciously and subconsciously. I think we've all just found ourselves giving like a little bit more around the edges to the program this year because he's been leading by example in that way.
I want to ask you one more quick one if I can. I've joked on broadcasts in the past that the best defender is often the guy that just turned over the disc. You seem to have brought that mentality even if you didn't turn over the disc. Where does that come from for you as a go-getter defensively on the O-line?
Yeah, I think a couple spots. I mean, I'm a competitor and I want us to succeed, and I think like something that we've talked about is like internalizing a turn as a team turn so that they don't like get away from us. We recognize that if everyone has one or two, that's way too many turns to be successful. So whether it's myself or someone else that's the one that throws it or gets blocked, like it's a team turn. And so we all have each other's backs. And then there's also the side of like playing I don't get that many chances to get out there and play D, and so really fighting like crazy to get it back before the other team's coach calls a timeout, and just wanting to be able to help the team no matter what side of the ball I'm on.
Great stuff. Daan Ritthaler, thank you so much, and best of luck tonight against the Empire.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we will transition to the New York Empire and bring on their co-head coach, Anthony Nuñez.
Wow, I feel like I should be wearing like my Hawaiian shirt and sunglasses here.
Anthony Nuñez, co-head coach of the New York Empire. Welcome back to championship weekend. In some ways it feels like the Empire have been here every year, but in reality it's been a few years for New York. What has been the difference this year compared to the last two, do you think? Whether it's personnel or commitment or whatever it may be, genius strategy that has gotten you back against a really tough gauntlet of a postseason schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest difference is that the younger players on our roster from the last 2 years, it takes some time to kind of teach them how to win and how to be successful and like what it means to be a championship level team. Like a lot of young players don't just walk in and know that kind of feeling, right? And what it takes to do that. So we had to take some losses in order for them to grow as players. And then adding in some of the veteran players like we did with Alex and with Daan and a few of the other really key contributors, it helps elevate the game, obviously, but it also, it helps bring up some of the younger players and have them step up, which you saw in the Boston game, a lot of our younger guys stepping up and becoming big-time players in the right moments.
The team is arguably unrecognizably different now, but you did go to Oakland last year to start the season, and they thumped you pretty good. Are the things you take away from that game, even if it's just about the style of play that Oakland brings to the table, that you're going to be thinking about tonight?
No, I don't think we have a short-term memory when it comes to the games from last year. It was a totally different team, like both mentality-wise and also a lot of the personnel aren't exactly the same. We were also just trying to figure out in that first game where people were playing, where they fit in that championship puzzle for us. Like Jacob Cowan played some O, he played some D, and then he started playing more O towards the end of the season when we rattled off like 6 wins in a row last year to get into the playoffs. Like we had Max last year and trying to figure out where he fit. And now this year we were able to come in knowing exactly where we wanted to put people in and what slot they filled perfectly. And it's a different mentality. On top of that, like, let's be honest here also, I wasn't there in the Oakland game. I was in the plane watching it. Then once I got there, everything settled down and, we were able to beat out a tough Vegas game. So, yeah.
Coach, it's great to see you back on this stage. Building a little bit off what Charlie just asked, it feels to me like Oakland runs an offensive style and cutting pattern that feels pretty distinct relative to a lot of other offenses in the league.
Yep.
A lot of horizontal, shallow slashes from the line of scrimmage or right behind it. I'm curious, do you agree with that assessment that it's pretty distinct, and how have you all been preparing for that challenge as you get ready for the semi tonight?
Yeah, so we had a pretty big challenge right now because we had a lot of players who were just coming off of playing at Worlds. So we did a lot of game film analysis, both of our defensive game and also their offensive game, and talking about like certain things and tendencies that we saw. Yeah, I would say that they're a very good, strong offensive team for sure, and they do have some similarities to other teams in the league. They possess very well, very similar to us, and it can come from anywhere because they have a lot of fluidity within their offense. Players who can handle, who can cut, who can kind of just fill it into the spots. And yeah, I mean, Oakland's a really good offense, and we're definitely prepared for it. And we've been definitely watching a lot of film on them and seeing where their biggest attacking spaces are.
Coach, yeah, I know you talked about the young players really stepping up to get you here, but now that you're here, you got to think that some of the more veteran guys are going to be the guys that really lead you tonight. I mean, especially when you juxtapose that with Oakland's team and how they only have 2 guys that have championship weekend experience. Talk about how guys like Ben Yacht, Jack Williams, JR, those types of guys help these younger guys get ready for this weekend.
Yeah. Evan, have you gotten to play 2K yet or no? No? Still haven't played it? Okay. I mentioned in the DC game that like Jack Williams has the Ice in the Veins badge for 2K, right? A lot of these players are going to step up in big moments, right? Whether it's one individual moment or it's going to be like a conversation that they have in the huddle or grabbing somebody and guiding them into the right space or spot. You can't, oh no, we lost our ducks. We can't expect that the younger guys are not going to step up, but we do know for a fact that those guys, Jack, John, Antoine, Marquez, Ben, we can go on and on and on with how many experienced players we have. We can expect that they will do anything that they possibly can for this team to be successful in this game, and they are going to put up some sort of highlight, some sort of big play, some sort of big speech to get us over the hump for sure in Oakland, against Oakland.
And 2 of the guys that we haven't focused on a whole ton, obviously those veterans are going to play a huge role, but Daan and Atkins kind of leading the charge of this historic offense, rivaling numbers from your guys' 2022 offense. And did you ever expect, Atkins to be having this MVP type season and then Daan coming in midway through and just leveling up the offense even more? Where were those expectations at versus reality?
Right. So I've known Alex for a really long time. If you don't expect him with that type of personality to try to get himself into becoming the best player onto the field, then you just don't know Alex, right? I definitely expected Alex to come in. He was hungry, he was wanting to win, he wants to be successful, and he wants to be the best player on the field. And he's going to will himself to become that MVP level of a play. For Daan, I got to see Daan play live at his first practice. And I knew that he was very, very good. I knew that he had a lot of stamina. But the things that he does so well are something that, unless you're fully focusing on him, you don't realize how great he is. He does all of the little things really well, and then when you look at the stat line, you're like, oh my god, I didn't realize he had 8 assists, like 5 goals, 800 blocks, whatever it is, because he just does it so quietly and so efficiently that it makes him even more of a weapon, because people start to not think about him because he's doing it so quietly.
Hi, Nuñez. Let's talk about you for a second. Yeah, we've met. Let's talk about you for a second. You are the most experienced coach here at Championship Weekend. You've been coaching since you're 18 years old. You've been coaching for almost 30 years. Longest pro coaching experience. You've coached hundreds of pro games. What keeps you coming back year in and year out?
Great question, Charlie. You obviously have started reading my my memoir. Yeah, what keeps me coming back is honestly moments like this, and also players like I've been coaching. It's pretty surreal to have a close relationship with so many of my players, and I don't want to just be successful onto the field. I want to provide them with the opportunities that maybe I didn't get as a player when I was younger. And what motivates me is I'm competitive. Like, I hate losing a French fry in the center console of my car. Like, that drives me crazy. So, like, losing a game also drives me crazy. And Evan, before you asked, yeah, I still haven't watched the 2021 finals. But the other part is that, like, coming here on a weekend, being able to hang out with an amazing staff that Empire provides, which is like a family to me and has been for several years now, and being able to compete with these players and hang out afterwards, be goofy with like Sam Jonas, or like, you know, high-fiving Yacht intensely, right? Like everything that this team brings is what motivates me to be here. And there, you know, we all know that there's a lot of sacrifices that have to happen, and that's what makes these sacrifices worth it.
Last time you were at championship weekend, New York was a pretty heavy favorite and pretty much rolled through everybody. Doesn't feel quite the same this year, even though you're probably the favorite on paper. You've got the most historic offense. How do you kind of approach this as a coach in terms of getting the teams ready for what is, I think, a higher level of competition from the rest of the teams here?
Yeah, so this weekend, I know that it's been published in the league too. This is by far one of the most competitive championship weekends I've seen, with a lot of little minuscule things that separate each team. I'm not going to reveal what separates us. We know exactly what we need to do. We've been battle tested, and the route that we wound up taking this year, where we had to play the wild card round, we had to play in the quarters, and we faced up against really hard, strict competition and stepped up, gives us that battle testing that we need to have in order to be successful throughout this weekend. And we accept any challenge possible to be able to fight against any of these teams.
Nuñez, thank you very much for your time. Best
Absolutely.
of luck tonight.
Thank you.
We'll bring in Alex Atkins,
Yep.
center handler for the New York O-line, UFA leader in total yards during the regular season, making his first appearance at championship weekend. Alex, good morning. Thanks for being here. You've been grinding in this sport for quite a while, a couple different teams now. What does it feel like to be here at championship weekend for the first time?
Feels good. Very exciting.
What is it about the Oakland Spiders that has stood out most to you in watching them and studying them, getting ready for this game?
Just have a lot of talent. They're talented roster, top to bottom, I would say. It's probably the biggest difference from the other teams.
Alex, this is your first season with the Empire. You had several other seasons with Colorado. As you look back on that chapter of your career, how do you characterize that, and what's it been like turning the page to this new chapter?
It was like my introduction to the UFA. I think it just like got me into it, got me really excited about this part of the sport, and definitely learned a lot about playing in this setting, and yeah.
The New York offense has been unbelievable for the last half of the season, especially since the addition of Daan Marree. What is it like playing alongside the other guys on this O-line, and particularly Daan?
It's fun. I mean, they're just really athletic, so I feel like it's just, you just got to spread it around, and it's hard to guard all of them. It's the biggest thing.
What do you think will separate New York this weekend from the other teams?
Well, I think we're also very talented. We're probably, I mean, I guess I'm biased, but I think we're probably the most talented team here. So that might be the biggest thing separating us. Also, our coaches are really good. They do a lot of job getting us prepared. So probably those two things.
Alex, you've done basically every role there is to have in the sport. Goal scorer, initiator, handler, O-line, D-line. What is unique about this particular role on this particular version of this team?
It's the easiest, I feel like. It's probably one of my best traits, I guess, as an ultimate player, is just since I've been doing it for a long time, is throwing, and so I just have to throw it around to a bunch of people that are very good at getting open. And that's nice.
Alex, going back to the offseason and making the decision to come to New York, I mean, what was kind of the biggest factor for you coming to New York, and has that stayed true throughout the entire season, ultimately getting you again?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest factor was I've always been into ultimate, so I wanted to pursue ultimate as much as I could full time, and New York is one of the few places that you can actually go to do that. So that's probably the biggest thing. I mean, the other thing is, I wanted to be on a good team and a team that was competing to win a championship. So definitely those two things have stayed consistent, and so far it's working out well.
Alex, there's no doubt you're an MVP candidate. There's been some conversation about the MVP award. I don't know how important that is to you personally, but I'm curious to ask, you just described your role as super easy. Does that mean you deserve to be the MVP for doing this really easy role really, really well?
Yeah. I mean, it's easy for me. Like, I don't think that a lot of people could do it necessarily, but so.
What makes it easy for you?
Oh, like I said, I'm just good at throwing. I've been throwing a disc for a very long time. So, like, especially on the UFA field, which is a lot bigger, and just spreading it out and keeping defenders honest, and my ability to just keep people, having to defend all spaces on the field. But not everyone can do that.
Can you talk a little bit about your upbringing, throwing a disc? When did it begin, and did you have the dream at a young age of playing this sport at the highest level and being one of the top players?
Yeah, I started playing, so my dad played, my dad and my mom played. My dad played more competitively, so I just grew up like around it, kind of like at Edgeley at the Frisbee fields in Philly. And then it wasn't like something necessarily I dreamed about. It just was like a part of my life, It just felt like this is what I do. We just play Frisbee, like that's, it was just normal. I think once I went to CU is when I really started to embrace it as something that I wanted to do more seriously.
Cool. Alex, thank you very much for your time. We will let you go, and we wish you the best of luck tonight.
Thank y'all.
And now we will have Daan de Marree stroll in. We got Daan de Marree, who is sitting in the shade, walking over. Daan, like Atkins, making his first appearance at championship weekend. Daan, good morning.
Woo, it's hot.
De Marree, it is hotter than Limerick, Ireland.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Welcome to championship weekend, Daan. It's been a strange year for you and a busy year. You didn't get to join the team until the middle portion of the season. How closely were you following the Empire during the first part of the year? What were conversations like? How easy was it for you to assimilate yourself into the team once you finally joined?
Yeah, at the start it was pretty hard to be with the team and feel that I'm part of the team, because they started without me, and a lot of practices that I didn't attend, and it was pretty hard on my mental, and I was kind of okay, maybe not, it's not gonna happen this year because of the visa and everything. But then when we got the green light, I was super excited, and I just left a week after that. And yeah, it was pretty easy to go with the team and blend in with those players that have so much experience and also respect my ability of Frisbee. So
Daan, congratulations on making it here. No secret, you're coming off a pretty incredible performance at the World Ultimate Club Championships. How are you feeling both physically and mentally as you try and turn the page and get fully dialed in for championship weekend?
Yeah, Worlds was a tough ending, to be honest, but I'm also very proud of how my Belgian team played. I think we showed the world that we're one of the best teams in the world again, and rough ending, but luckily I have a lot of things to look forward to, like this, like championship weekend, and yeah, it's good to keep my mental a little bit out of like the Mooncatchers, but now with Empire it's really good to like focus on this and just forget about Worlds.
Daan, last year on Chicago, it felt like that team needed you to be very ingrained in their offense and needed you to be touching the disc all the time. I would say with this New York team, that need was maybe not so much there, but it was more of a privilege to be able to have you have that type of ability and that amount of touching of the disc on the team. Talk to me about like the difference between your role last year in Chicago and your role this year in New York, and how it's been playing with some of those players that, you know, maybe on this role is more of a privilege than a need type basis.
Yeah. That's actually a good one, because I feel like here there is so much more talent and like experience in the UFA than last year at Chicago. That last year at Chicago everyone looked at me and be like, okay, like you're gonna take us to championship weekend and you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that, and it's all like about like, okay, is Daan gonna take us there? So there was a lot of pressure, but also like they were my friends, so they were like not like, I don't know, pushy about it. And I think here, I think I kind of have the same role as like Jack a little bit, like a couple of years ago, with like being around the disc a lot, and I think it's now like nice to see that we kind of work together on that, and it's not like being like, oh, I need to do that and I need to do this. It's more like, okay, like Daan, I will give you the space for this and you give me the space for that, and yeah, it's really nice to see actually that we can work together a lot on those things.
Daan, staying on the same type of wavelength of looking back at Chicago compared to this year, obviously last year 12-0, disappointing loss in the Central Divisional Championship, and now this year you're back here at championship weekend with the chance to match up against Minnesota again in the finals. Is that loss and that kind of way the season ended, is that in the back of your mind at all, or is that just completely gone, short-term memory, does not matter at all?
Yeah, that's completely gone, completely.
Daan, I don't think it's a very hot take to say that you are consensus one of or the best player in the world. How do you feel when you hear things like that? Does it give you any pressure? Does it motivate you? What is your reaction to hearing that?
It's pretty weird, to be honest, when people say that. I'm just a boy from Leuven, from Belgium, and I just enjoy playing, and I still have a lot to be honest, to get better at, and I think just push yourself, keep myself a little bit humble as well every time I like play a bad game or do something wrong. And no, but it is fun when people say that, of course, to give like the recognition of that you put a lot of work in this sport as well, and it's nice, but I gotta back it up as well, so yeah.
Daan, how much have you looked at the Spiders, or what have your coaches shared with you about what you can expect from the Oakland defense tonight, and how do you expect to try to beat them?
I didn't watch that much of tape because I'm kind of that person that just want to like feel it out a little bit on the field. Of course I know a little bit what they're gonna do on defense, but I'm more of a like vibe guy and see like, okay, what are they gonna do on defense, and I'm gonna adapt on the field instead of like think about it before too much.
And last question, Nuñez was talking about how you were so good at the little things. Can you articulate what some of those little things are that you think you do well?
I have actually no idea. What are the little things, like a normal backhand or something, or I have no idea.
When you're downfield without the disc, what are the things that you're looking for?
Like see where the guys are running to and like being like, okay, like I gotta go in this space right now, and or like get out of the way so I can go deep.
Last question, why do you wear number 27?
No idea. I just wanted to get rid of the number 10 soccer jersey kind of vibe because I always played in it. and 27 felt good.
All right, Daan Marree, thanks
Thank
for
you.
being here. Best of luck tonight.
Thank you very much.
And we will now shift to the teams for the second semifinal. Is Casey here? Yeah, come on up, Casey. Casey Hogg will be representing the Austin Soul, co-coach along with Joe Iannacone. Casey, of course, played in this league with Dallas.
How am I framed?
I think you're good.
Yeah.
Casey, thanks for being here. Your first year coaching as a co-head coach with the Soul. Can you describe what it was like building the belief with this year's team? Because clearly you're a pretty confident group. It manifests itself in late game situations where y'all, for the most part, have been very successful. What was it like trying to instill that? Is it something you and Joe did? Was it something that already existed? How would you describe it?
It's a good question. I don't think that there's anything that Joe or I had to do. I think that we have a collection of really good players. I think that probably the best thing that Joe and I can do for these guys, and what we've tried to do over the course of the season, is just make sure that they know that they don't have to do anything spectacular, that their game is good enough, that if we, imperfect as it is, if we play our game, it will be good enough to get the win. I think especially down the stretch, there have been a lot of times where we could have changed up a lot, tried to go with something weird or like off the wall to try and mix it up. But for the most part, we trust our guys to make the plays that are in front of them, and they do a good job of that.
When you think about Minnesota as an opponent, what jumps to the forefront of your mind?
I think anybody playing Minnesota has to look at their pool game and has to be ready for that. I think, generally, we aren't that dissimilar from them in a lot of the way that we play offense and play defense. So I think, we probably have practiced for them more than any other team in the league because we practice against ourselves every single week. I expect that they have guys who can make plays. They have guys who are going to control the disc well. On defense, they're going to work really hard to put us in spots we don't want to be in. So in a lot of ways, I think the game's going to come down to who can execute a fairly similar game plan better than the other.
Austin has been incredibly good in the crunch time of a lot of games, 4 overtime games, a lot of even closer 1-2 point finishes. And it feels like you guys match up with Minnesota incredibly well, a team that has led for 90% of their season. And you guys have been outspoken of, hey, we like to play in these tight games and we're good enough to be able to win these tight games. What's your kind of perspective on kind of that statistic and how you guys match up with Minnesota in terms of crunch time?
Yeah, I think as a coach, I don't love that we played in a lot of tight games. I would have, I think my heart and every other part of me would have enjoyed some of these wins being by 4 or 5 or 6 points. But I think it speaks to, really it just speaks to how good these guys are on the team at playing through no matter the circumstances. We were down 4 briefly to Carolina in the South Division Championship, and I think a lot of guys in that situation could have put their heads down and said, hey, it's not our time, they're better than us, and let the pressure go that way. But our guys leaned into it. I expect that Minnesota's going to put us in a significant amount of pressure, as much as they can put on us. I think it'll come down to us being able to respond to that pressure the right way.
There are very few teams in the league that I think have such a clear identity than you all have. And I think certainly you have some really excellent players. Some of the top players in the league are on your roster. But there's no question that your team plays better than the sum of its parts. What do you attribute that to?
I think we have really good chemistry. I think that we don't have a lot of ego on this team. Realistically, you can say from 1 to 20, but really we have a lot of guys on the bench, 1 through 30 probably, who could do a lot of stuff and are happy to do what we ask of them and not try to do too much. Yeah, I'm very proud of our team. I'm very proud of how we've responded to every single situation we've faced this season. Some of the ones that are very public, some of the ones that aren't as well known, because we're dealing with a lot of, we have a lot of really good players, and it's not the easiest thing to be a really good player and say, I'm going to play this role versus that role.
I know you weren't personally involved with the team at the time, but 3 years ago, the team came to championship weekend, big surprise, and they got throttled by an extremely good Empire team. How is the team talking about this championship weekend compared to 3 years ago, for those who were with it?
Yeah, I think there's been some conversations about that. I would probably probably the best thing I can say personally, having not been a part of it, is sometimes you have to lose the big game before you can win the big game. I think that team overperformed, probably would say they overperformed to make it to championship weekend, and they kind of treated it like this is the victory lap, this isn't the next challenge. I think for every guy who was on that field and played against New York wants another bite at the apple. This is that next bite, and all the guys who weren't there, I think, would love to be able to say after the game, yeah, you guys just didn't have me yet. Now, because you have me, here we are, right? So, I expect it's going to be, I think people consider us the underdog in every single game we'll play this weekend, no matter who we're playing against. I expect Minnesota's going to give us a really tough game. I think we do really, really well being the underdog, and if the game's within 2 in the fourth quarter, I think every one of our players is going to be ready to get out on that field. Flyover's a little too early. If it's a close game in the fourth quarter, every one of our guys is going to be ready to get on the field and make that difference.
And focusing a little bit on individual players, it's easy to focus on guys like Kyle Henke, Evan Swiatek, those top type of producers. But a guy that I want to kind of ask you about made his season debut last week, Jackson Potts. I believe he's one of your most dynamic players across the roster. What can we kind of expect from him? What has he opened up for your guys' team, and what will his involvement kind of look like throughout the course of this weekend?
That's a good question. Potts has been putting in so much work behind the scenes. When I was playing pro, he puts my work ethic to shame just coming back from injury versus what I was doing as a fully healthy individual. He gives us a playmaker. He gives us a huge body in space who uses his size really, really well. He gives us another great thrower. I think the best part about the fact that he's not been on the field that long is he hasn't given Minnesota much game film to look at for this season. So, we know what he can do in practice. Minnesota hopefully won't be able to figure that out until pretty deep in the game. But yeah, he has worked harder probably than any player on the team to get to the point where he is. At the outset of the season, we were pretty sure he wasn't going to be able to play this season. He was going to do everything he could, but probably 2027 was when we were going to see him on the field. But he's consistently outpaced all of the metrics that were necessary to get him out there, and I'm very excited to see him put on a show tonight.
Casey, last question for you, and I want to ask you about Kyle Henke. Can you remember when you first learned about Kyle, competed against Kyle, and can you talk about his evolution as a player, and also, if things had gone a different way, the throw he made at the end of the Carolina game might have been regarded as one of the most boneheaded mistakes in the history of the league. How have you and your team and he learned from that since then?
Yeah, I guess that's one of the big lessons you can learn in sports is that you don't get to choose when your mistakes happen. You're going to make them. If that mistake would have happened at the end of the first quarter, nobody would have even thought about it. It happened at the end of the fourth quarter. So it's probably the one thing that people want to talk about most out of that game. But Kyle has had an unbelievable season, his best season as a thrower for the team, his best season as a thrower in his career. He's going to continue to be in those spots, and he's going to continue to execute. I think having seen Kyle kind of grow up, he's pretty well made that transition now from unbelievable athletic playmaker in space to the guy who you can basically put any role in front of him, put any load on his shoulders, and he's going to make it work. And you see that from this season. When we need a guy to be open, it's Kyle. When we need a guy to make a throw, it's Kyle. When we need a guy to get a block, sometimes it's Kyle. As much as I try and protect him and keep him on the offense, he wants to play more D than I let him, but I try and keep him on the offense to keep him as rested as possible. But when we need a play to happen, you're going to look and you're going to see either Kyle throwing it or Kyle catching it. Yeah, I'm excited to see him out here tonight. I know that Minnesota is probably going to have 5 or 6 or 7 different things they're going to run his way to try and keep him out of the game or try and limit him as much as they can. I'm excited to see him surpass what Minnesota puts in front of him. I'm excited to see him probably leading in throwing yards, probably close in reception yards, and probably with a nice number of scores and assists. Yeah.
Great stuff, Casey. Thank you very much for your time. Best of luck tonight.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate you being out here.
And now we will be joined by the aforementioned Kyle Henke. Kyle, I didn't realize you were that close to being behind me, but
look who it is, the bonehead himself.
Let's talk about the end of the Carolina game. Kyle, thanks for being here and joining us. I mean, I saw you on the field being interviewed by Rich right after that game and then talked to you briefly at the bar afterwards. Clearly it was a bittersweet, conflicting moment for you. As the weeks have gone by, what has the thought process been about that moment, and how has that moment motivated you, demoralized you, stuck with you, etc.?
Well, it stuck with me more through all the articles that you write about me, but I've tried to forget it personally. You know, when there's 5 seconds on the clock and you're only supposed to remember to do one thing and you can't do it because the moment just feels too big or you forget, that's incredibly disappointing, but hoping to right my wrongs tonight.
I'm going to give you a little bit more of a pick-me-up here. So I like to find weird stats going into championship weekend. One thing I actually found, and I was actually kind of shocked by this when I was looking at it, is back in 2018, you only had 150 touches on the year. This year, you had nearly 550 touches. Talk about the evolution of your game over the last 8 years that has got you to this point where you've become that all-around playmaker, not just an athlete making big plays, as your coach was just mentioning.
Sure. Well, for the player who wants to go from 150 to 550, I have a disappointing answer for you, and it's just that it takes time. It takes earning guys' trust. It takes watching your own game. It takes watching other people's game and figuring out what they're doing right and wrong. And so, you know, over time, we've had less handlers in the Texas scene, and we've had a lot of cutters. And so, while it is my you know, personal probably best attribute is being downfield, I've grown into enjoying being in the handler set in the front of the stack. And you know, for better or for worse, we had Duncan out for a couple games, Saketh Paltrue out for a couple games, and so I remained consistent in that time this season. And it was a place where I wanted to help our team grow, given my experience downfield, thinking that I could maybe add a little bit to our handler set, knowing how much we have, or knowing, you know, what I see downfield and how we want to be moving the disc as a handler set. So I'm glad to have brought that. It is more so happenstance, I think, this season that I've worked into that role, but certainly thankful for it.
Kyle, I'm sure you heard when we were asking Casey about, you know, how Minnesota is going to try to game plan and throw a bunch of different looks your way. And similarly, in their Central Division Championship game, they held Elliot Hawkins to 1 assist and 1 goal in the first half, and he was able to produce a little bit more. But if things were to kind of be tougher on you through the first half of the game, how do you push through that adversity and understand that, like, your time is going to come and you're able to impact the game the way that you know you can?
Yeah, I've had a handful of games this season where I've had quiet first quarters, quiet first halves, and I've remained patient and celebrated when my teammates are the ones that are making the plays, and wait for my time when you know, when it's stall 6 I need to be open, or when, you know, we get stuck in the stack and someone just needs to make a play. So I hope to remain patient tonight. I don't know how long it'll take for me to get going, but I'm looking forward to analyzing what Minnesota's defense is giving us. I've watched, you know, a few games of theirs, and feel like I've earned a few tells that I'm going to keep close to the chest for now, but I've gotten to share those with my teammates, and so I'm excited to see if those continue in this champ weekend.
Kyle, you have been, you know, one of the stars of the league coming out of the pandemic. I think you're rising up the leaderboards in a lot of career stats. You're still very much in the heart of your prime. This is your second championship weekend with a team that comes out of a very tough division. I don't think there's been a single season that y'all have been the favorites in your division, and here's your second time here. What would winning this game and ideally winning a title tomorrow mean for both you individually and for the Austin Soul?
It's maybe a disappointing answer, but I think this season, more than most, I've tried to enjoy the journey more than the destination. And so, you know, I want to play my very best tonight. I want to win the game. I want another opportunity to see Jackson Potts, you know, play a second and third game. I want opportunities for our younger guys like Owen Johnson and Aaron Barcio and George Gus to show what they have on a big stage. Like, I'm so excited for those guys. And so getting to see them grow this season, I've just experienced a lot of gratitude for the journey. Obviously, the destination of being here was like a big milestone for us, getting back to Champ Weekend. And now that that is cleared, I once again just kind of feel this like relief that we've made it to a place to where I can continue to enjoy the journey, if that makes sense. So just experiencing like just a lot of gratitude for, you know, being out here, seeing the top 4 teams playing Frisbee. I can't wait to just watch the first semifinal, you know, let alone play in the second one. So those are some of the feelings that are kind of going through my head being here at Champ Weekend.
Strategically, I know obviously you kind of already mentioned that you don't want to give anything away, but when I look at Minnesota, I see them as probably the best pulling team in this entire league. What kind of challenges does that present you guys, especially you being somebody that's in the backfield so much, but your offense as a whole, what kind of challenges does a team that has such good pulls present?
You know, it makes us think a little bit more about how we feel the pull. We haven't had a team so disruptive in their pulling game that, you know, we've experienced this season. And so we've had to take a long, hard look at what we do in the handler set starting our pull plays. We've got a couple different options. We're going to stick with one and then read how it goes. And if we need to make changes in game, we will. But just having that 1, 2, and third option for us is enough for now. And we're going to rest in that and then, you know, see how the game progresses. And if we can move to second option or the third option, we can. But if not, you know, we're content with our game plan there.
How is this year's team different than the one from 2023 that made Champ Weekend?
You know, I'm really enjoyed our leadership structure this year. You know, y'all asked Casey in the interview before, like, how have you helped instill belief in this team? And I wouldn't give Casey or Joe much credit at all, actually. I'd give Coach Najee the last 3 or 4 years he's coached us, like that belief from being from 0 to, you know, 50. And then Coach Joe and Coach Casey have helped us get from 50 to 100, I think, strategically. And so the belief was instilled early on. And once again, like, it took a lot of time and just unwavering belief from a guy who just loves the game and Coach Najee. And so I think we all have a piece of him in us in that belief. And as you saw, you know, 5 one-goal games this season and winning all of them is that's a stat that you can, you know, you can put a pin in that and see it objectively as opposed to just saying we have belief, you know.
Kyle, so many more questions we could ask you, but our time is up. Thank you so much for being here, taking the time. Best of luck tonight.
Appreciate it, guys.
We'll bring in Matthew Armour, back with us all after a year away.
What's up, guys?
For Matt or Matthew?
Matthew.
Matthew.
Actually, thank you for asking.
Yeah. Congrats on making it back to championship weekend. I want to ask you about the South Division final and what it was like to kind of pull the Matthew Armour to offense emergency lever. And, you know, were you expecting that? How surprised by you were it? What did it do for your team? And can you tip the hat or spill the beans on where we can expect you to be tonight?
Oh, well, certainly I will not answer that part of the question. I don't know if you've got money on Minnesota or something, but no free tips. You know, it's funny, actually. I texted Casey before the season, like, hey, I want to try out for an O-line spot. I've been a D-line guy my whole career, but give me a look. Like, have me practice with the O-line. Like, I want an earnest opportunity to show what I have on offense. And in the midst of heaping praise on my defensive ability, the coaches told me, actually, no, we're going to keep you on D-line. But big game comes, and I've always been ready. You know, D-line offense is obviously something that I do really well at. But, you know, I've played in a lot of big games. I was ready to go, and I love playing with Kyle, Potts, Evan, Duncan. You know, I have a lot of chemistry with those guys. You know, we play so much together. The difference between lines, it's not super significant. So, yeah, I was just ready to go in, do my thing, provide what I can, and it worked out for us.
Matthew, congratulations on making it back here. I know you're no stranger to this stage, and last time you were here, I was really impressed with your candor and sharing thoughts with Evan that got published in the Tuesday toss, you know, calling 2023 a major disappointment and we didn't have the hunger. We were just satisfied to be there. Is that something that, like, I guess I have a two-part question. Were you recognizing that in the moment, or is that only something that you came to realize with some perspective after time has passed? And then B, like, what and how and why is this year and this opportunity different?
I did sort of recognize that in the moment, I recall. And, you know, I also mentioned part of that feeling was due to the fact with just how dominant New York that was. You know, it would have taken exceptional coaching leadership to be able to convince the team that we could beat a team like New York that year, which contributed to it. But yeah, I mean, I mentioned to Evan, satisfaction is such a powerful killer of ambition. And to win at these highest levels, you have to be hungry, you have to want it. And that feeling is present here with the team this weekend. So I don't know how this game is going to turn out, but I can damn near promise you we're not going to lose by 11.
So Minnesota obviously has a very stout offense and has really improved their numbers this year. And what have been kind of the top things that you guys have looked at as a collective unit, whether it's an individual player or some of their tendencies, if you can give any insight to that?
Sure. I mean, defensive fundamentals start in the handler space. Trying to take away free resets, stopping up lines at all costs. You know, and they have a lot of players that really are difficult to guard. Will Brandt's a guy who threatening downfield, but you get him in the handler space, and now he's breaking the mark every throw, taking those huck looks. You know, Josh Klain, super dangerous with the disc. So it starts with handler defense, just making sure that we have that pressure there, that we're able to contain, we're able to take away power position looks. Because, you know, we have a lot of confidence in our downfield defense. I mean, you saw, it's been played on some of those UFA highlight reels, that George Gus Sky on Jacob Fairfax. You know, how many players get the better of Jacob Fairfax in the air? So few. So, like, we have confidence in our athletes downfield, so long as we make sure that those looks coming from the handler space are contested, you know, a little bit of physicality there, they come out a little bladey. So that's going to be the main game plan, how we're going to attack on D.
And then looking at the season as kind of a whole, I feel like a lot of people didn't really expect Austin to be in this position, very tough division, and a lot of people have kind of written it off in terms of how relatively easy your guys' schedule was throughout the regular season. What is your opinion and thoughts on that, and now that you're actually?
Did you write us off? Is that
I didn't write us
just
off.
people?
I had Austin winning the division this year and coming to champ
okay.
weekend.
Well, there you go, believer. Yeah, I mean, you know, myself, Duncan, Evan took last year off, and a lot of those young guys, you know, Owen Johnson last year became big contributors, so that there was like a little natural growth there with, you know, our touches, our experience vacating, that some of those younger players could grow in the system. But, you know, we were looking around at mini camps pretty early on, like, it's never looked this good, it's never felt this good. And obviously, you know, you alluded to how competitive the South is. You know, we go to overtime against San Diego twice, once against Atlanta, split Carolina. Like, it's so competitive. So, you know, I'll give you guys a pass for not picking us to get here, because, you know, a lot of those games could have gone either way. But yeah, it's felt good all year, and yeah.
I was somebody who did not pick you.
Thank you for admitting it.
I think it's been really interesting because you all have a weaker schedule relative to the other contenders in the league and even contenders within your own division. It's been amazing year in and year out to see then how you all perform against the top teams in your division and teams around the league. What is sort of the secret to turning it on when you have a tough opponent like that?
I think part of the secret is taking those less important, less competitive games as seriously as you can. You know, playing to our standards even when we're up 8 on Houston is really important, because like you said, we get so few chances over the course of the season to get tested, to undergo adversity, that internally the standards, the discipline has to be really high for us to go into those games and perform.
Carolina was up in that first half. What turned that game around?
I'm no sports psychologist, but there's something about, like, once the turnovers start coming, once the game loosens up, that we really thrive. Like, we you know, it's kind of always windy in Texas. You get, like, strange crosswinds, discs float up on people they don't expect. And when we get teams in the muck, when we get teams, you know, in those plus 15 turnover games, it becomes a hustle battle. It becomes a, you know, just an imposition of wills. And that's what you'll find around this locker room. Just guys that really want to win, who go make winning plays, even when it looks ugly. You know, there was that one play in that Carolina game where, you know, they start a couple breaks on us in the first quarter. You know, I'm trying to give and go with Reese. I just bounce it off his hands, catch it myself. You know, that's the kind of stuff that works out for us when we're out there. So, you know, I don't question it.
And looking again at Minnesota, they are going to travel incredibly well. They always travel incredibly well to Madison with their huge fan base. And how do you guys kind of manage that, understanding that they're going to have a lot of noise behind them? How do you kind of take their crowd and their fans out of the game as early as possible, if you guys are even thinking about that?
Well, I'll start by making a comment just how cool it is, you know, watching Minnesota games at home. They have so many people, such a huge fan base. Great for the league. Love seeing that. We've played in hostile environments. We're not too worried about the crowd. And, you know, I think you might be surprised with how well the Soul traveled too. So hopefully we have our supporters. I know we have them at home, you know, watch parties and whatnot. But the crowd is the crowd. If they're quieter when we score than the other team, it's not gonna bother us too much.
Last question, Matthew. Was 8 years ago you were a rookie in this league at Bree Stevens Field at championship weekend with the Dallas Roughnecks for the first time. What do you remember about that experience, and what advice have you given to your young guys to help benefit them?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot different, you know, 8 years ago for me now. I probably, in 2018, was undisputably the least offensively talented player at Champ Weekend. My role was essentially go guard a handler, and if somehow the disc finds your way on offense, throw a 2-yard pass to Dylan Larberg. So there's a big difference in just how I've grown as a player since then. The advice that I've been giving to the team is just don't take these Champ Weekend runs for granted. I mean, if your career ends up anything like mine, this only happens like once every other season.
So is the message to a guy like George to throw it to you quickly when he gets it?
If George wants to throw it to me quick, he can. But, you know, I have a lot of confidence. I mean, George is a much more talented player than I was at that age. So he can do whatever he wants.
Matthew, thank you very much for your time. Best of luck tonight.
Thank you.
And we will shift to the final team of our press conferences, the team that is the most familiar at championship weekend. They've been here every year since 2023. This is the 4th year in a row we've gotten to talk to Ben Feldman at these press conferences. Ben, welcome back to championship weekend. In the past, you've often been here as an underdog. I think the consensus is that you're now here as a favorite. Does it feel different? Are there different expectations? Is there different pressure being considered a favorite at championship weekend, arguably for the first time?
Yeah, you know, that's a good question. I think one of the things I talk about with this team is that as you have continued success, and obviously as a team who's been back to this event, yeah, things change with perceptions and expectations and predictions. I think that's a part of growing as an organization. And so there's no question maybe the dialogue or the expectation of our team and where we think we stand has maybe shifted over time, but that's a part of what I think is going to help our players grow and have success at this event, maybe in different ways. and I think that's important too. So we're excited to see what that looks like. Certainly, having been here before, I think comes with a little bit of confidence, but it also comes with some challenges of the expectations you're talking about for our players. So we're excited. I think we still carry that dog mentality, and I'm excited for what that's going to look like starting tonight.
Building off of that, obviously this is your 4th straight appearance, a feat only other 4 teams have done in the history of the league, and won a title 2 years ago, and made it to the finals last year, potential for 3 straight this year. Is there an added sense of pressure to get the job done, considering you've been here so many times recently?
Yeah. I ran into Charlie last night at the bar, and I said the anxiety going into the division championship game has just changed quite a bit. Like, the more success you have, I think, like getting to this event alone and getting the opportunity to play against the best 4 teams in the league. I think everyone in the league knows if you're a competent team and you have your best game, that's simply you're able to compete with any team in the league when you do that. And so just getting to this event and being a game or 2 away from a title means a lot. There's a lot of energy and effort that goes into the league to put this on. The players want to be here. And so as a GM, owner, and coach, there's a lot riding on getting to this event to get that opportunity for your guys. So I think there's been an added level of pressure as a coach that our coaching staff has felt, in our division championship games, that even though you're the favorites, it comes with some added pressure. It's different, right? So definitely felt that going into the division championship game. I think preparation for this has maybe had a little bit less anxiety just because getting your team to this opportunity and you've been training for, there's more preparation. It's a little bit different, and like getting here and being at this, we know, having been here 3 times, sometimes you're going to win it, sometimes you're going to lose heartbreakers, and sometimes you're going to have really close games. And now we're in that position to see what that outcome's going to look like, and we've earned that. So I'm excited for that, and now it's just about working our tail off and bringing our best self to the game tonight.
So this year, I think your team more than any other team has benefited probably from having interdivisional type games, right? And so how has that experience going to, talking about playing Oakland, talking about playing Boston, kind of giving you a flavor for what this weekend might be for your team? How has that benefited your team, and how are you guys using that to your advantage this weekend more than any other team that really hasn't had those types of opportunities?
Yeah, it's incredibly helpful, and it's not just, it's for the players to sense of comfort of going up against new opponents on the UAFA field. Obviously, we played in this venue. I think that helps a little bit too. We had some really tight games, heartbreakers obviously last year in this venue, and comebacks. So we've been through a lot of different scenarios, and I think when you don't know what to expect going into a game, having been there before, I think helps a little bit for sure. And we intentionally have designed our schedule the last several seasons, ever since 2024, going out to Colorado and just getting our face punched in that game. We learned so much, and as a team, and had so much success coming out of that, where do we need to get better, that you have to play a competitive regular season game to then find success in these biggest moments. So our experience going up the unknown Alley Cat, roster of who's going to come, who's playing, what are they going to do, they're getting better every game, to going out across the country to play Oakland in that environment, and then hosting Boston, the defending champs. Like, that was all intentional, and the outcomes of those games is one thing, but what we take away and how we scout and learn and how to play a new team and strategize, like the coaching group, that's a big part of this too, of like making sure our players know what to expect coming in tonight, going against a team we've never played before. Like, we've been through that process a little more frequently, so I think that helps too, and gives the team a sense of comfort, knowing that like this isn't the first time we're having to prep or scout for a team of guys we've never played before. I think we have the most reps of that of anyone in the league over the last 3 or 4 years.
Feels like your offense is in one of the strongest states it's been in the history of the franchise. Some of the numbers bear that out. Maybe internally you feel differently, but it feels like a big part of that has to do with how the roles for Gordon Larson and Will Brandt have evolved relative to specifically where they might start on the field to previous seasons. I'm curious how you've seen both Gordon and Will intentionally or kind of implicitly evolve their games on the field.
Yeah, I think that's been the story of the offense. I don't know, experience is a part of it, but I think it's also just the combination of players that are unlocking and giving other people more confidence to try and do new things. So we certainly made some changes there. I think some of the personnel we've added to that unit has helped too, to just give more confidence to people to lead positions and cycle more and try different things. So, it's a maturation of that group, the coaching staff knowing that we got to start trying different things, and I think we've seen the success of that. It's still not perfect. We made a ton of strides this year, and I think that gives us an extra sense of confidence coming into tonight. Just knowing that unit, they've been through a lot, they've been talked down a lot over the years, and I think to have more statistical success, this season on that side of the ball is great, and I'm excited for what that's going to look like tonight. I think the guys leading that unit have been here before. We got a bunch of gamers, playmakers across this entire roster, and I think, we all play, and when I talk to guys about playing on the windshield, it's like for these opportunities, put it on a show right in front of the biggest fans in the league, in front of the crowd, coming to championship weekend, and so we're showtime tonight, right, is what we're talking about. We're going to have fun out there, put a ton of energy into it, and hopefully the outcome follows for what we'd like.
Certainly, as Ian just said, the offense statistically has ticked up in basically every category, and most every player is having career high, at least completion percentage, and career highs in other statistics for many of them as well. The defense continues to be one of the great defenses that the league has seen, as it has been for the last several years. What is different about this Winchell team, and is it the best one?
Yeah, I think, as far as the offensive unit and approach, I think like valuing the disc and just being, we've been, I would say in general, more selective and willing to work hard, use our legs more across all 7 guys in that unit than we have in the past. We're less predictable. I think being less predictable is leading to more completion percentage because people are more open. We're pulling more. We're opening up more space, and it's just easier to complete passes when you got people cycling and everything's less predictable. You got less stagnation. So that's probably the big driver of the completion percentage. I do think like some of our players are being more selective with the shots they take, which is great. And I think your second question was about just the roster in general. I mean, like, we had to make some extremely difficult decisions coming in tonight, and we feel really good about a lot of the reserves that are here. And it's very possible if we take care of business tonight that, just like the last 2 years, someone's going to have to step up and be ready to go tomorrow due to injury or other. And so the speed and athleticism that we're carrying on our defensive units is unmatched. We lean really heavy into that. We think like taking away the ball, we got enough disc skills in that unit across the board that our conversion's been solid. So like we're putting as much athleticism and speed out there to cause havoc, and that's been where we've had a lot of success. So super excited for what that looks like when we're looking at matchups and who can guard who. It's like, man, like we feel really good about a lot of people on a lot of people, and typically you got a couple guys who are like, they really should only take this person. It's like, you had Micah Davis to the lineup, and that guy is, he's a core handler, but like you can put him downfield if you want to. He could probably take a bunch of dudes. He's getting layout blocks, and he's the facilitator of that unit, right? And not only that, he's a facilitator, but he's an incredible defensive playmaker potentially for us as well too. So it's exciting. I'm excited to see what that looks like tonight going into this event.
One of those pieces that you're getting back in the lineup tonight appears to be Thomas Shope. I'm curious about what your expectations are for him.
Yeah, we're pumped to have Thomas back. He was a little bit of an unknown, just kind of coming back from different ailments, and thankfully had some decent volume of reps here between Worlds and tournament this past weekend, where he's back up to form and feeling really good, and he made it through that volume and feeling great. So we're excited about him on the D-line. Obviously, he was an O-line player for us here at the event last year, played fantastic, and another guy who can guard, we feel confident can guard just about anyone out there. And so excited to have him back. Adds to our speed and athleticism, and I think he's ready. He's going to be ready for tonight.
Ben, we'll let you go. 7.5 hours about till opening pull. Thanks for your time. Best of luck tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Bring up Will Brandt. Well, feel free to be as open and insightful as you want. Now, I wanted to ask you, at the ripe age of 24, you are now the veteran of championship weekend, your 4th straight one. There are older guys on the team, but curious what message you've tried to send to guys like Nate and Micah and Zach Morton, who are now the young guys experiencing championship weekend with a wind chill for the first time.
Yeah, good question. Just like nothing really changes. It's the same game, same level of opponent, like maybe slightly higher, but like keep doing what you're doing and we'll be fine. Like when you play confident and comfortable out here, like that's when you're going to be playing your best. So I think the message is just, yeah, be yourself.
I'll be the first one to admit, as somebody that's watched a lot of your games, I think for years now I have been very critical, thinking that you should be downfield. This year, you were finally downfield more often, which I love to see. I know you were familiar with having to do a little bit of everything when you were in college, so this is no stranger to you to be downfield. But talk about how your role has evolved a little bit this year and kind of how you're feeling downfield. And do you feel like it's opened your game up a little bit?
Yeah, certainly opened my game up. It's been pretty like fun and refreshing. I think, and it just like allows our offense to have more like combinations and more flexibility. I think at the beginning of the season, we were just like missing people at practice, and we kind of always had a good supply of handlers, so it made like sense for me to just kind of try out some open spots down there, and then kind of just ran with it. And Gordon is kind of becoming more and more comfortable as a handler, so it's kind of a natural like switch almost. And then I always feel like there's room to like switch back, within a game or a point. But yeah, it's been a fun year for sure.
Two-part question for you here. First off, on an individual level, this is your first full season you've been able to have. How good does that feel to be able to play all 12 games and beat you?
Yeah, it's been a goal of mine for the past few years to like play all 12 games and be healthy. And yeah, like you're saying, I haven't been able to do that. I think just I'm being a bit more like dedicated with like my training and like weekly routine and like really trying to prioritize my body. I think I'm like feeling really great at this point of the season for having a lot of load in the past 3 or 4 weeks. So yeah, I'm still feeling really good, and I'm very happy about that. Yeah.
And then the second part is that after covering Minnesota now for 3 years and being really involved with the team, I mean, it seems like this year there's just a different type of energy, and something that's been emphasized to me time and time again is that it's not about the individual whatsoever. It's about your guys' team and the overall big picture to get the championship weekend and reach the finals. What kind of message started that, and how did that all come to be, and how do you guys stay so aligned with that perspective?
Yeah, like early season team goal setting, like everyone's goal is we kind of just like aligned right away that like the goal isn't just to like be a good team and be like good enough again, like and make it to the playoffs. Like from like day zero, it was like our goal is to win a championship. And I think just like that expectation has definitely like stayed with us in the back of our heads. Like we're not really peaking for the regular season or like even the divisional playoff. Like we expected to get here. We're expecting to get to the championship game tomorrow, and like we really believe that our preparation will serve us well for this weekend.
Well, congratulations on being back here. I'm curious about, Evan asked about the wisdom that you may or may not have imparted to some of your younger teammates. Ryan was asking about your body. I'm curious, like, take me back to Will Brandt's mindset in 2023 and 2024 coming into championship weekend, and how, if at all, your mindset has evolved or is in a different spot here coming into 2026.
Yeah, I mean, obviously just like the experience now helps a lot. I think our team and maybe myself individually, we're all just kind of like, oh, we made it here, like let's see what happens, and like let's go out and try to do something fun. And I think we had some like pretty strong results both of those years, which was like really awesome. And now like we're back, obviously, and we feel like we know how to win games here. And I think it's just being a little more like professional about it, and really believing that we belong here and that we can win this thing. So,
with the improvement on the offense this year, has the team's identity changed in your mind from kind of this scrappy, defensively oriented underdog?
I still think that's who we are at the end of the day. Like, I think when we're at our best, our defense is getting like 5 breaks in a row or even more. But it feels like really good to also like contribute to that team identity from the offensive side of the disc. Like, it was really frustrating a lot of times in previous years, like feeling like we were getting like carried by our defense. And this year it's felt like, to me, our defense is still like as good as they've ever been. And now it feels like our offense is much more like capable and able to keep us in games as well. So it feels like a much more balanced product now, which is awesome.
Last thing, Will, you've played against guys that played for the Soul, but you've never played against the Austin Soul before. What's it been like studying them? What stands out most to you when you look at Austin?
Scrappy for sure. Like they seem like they just have this like ability to win games, and I think like a lot of people are maybe like underrating them heading into this weekend, saying they're like the weakest opponent. But from our side, it's the same. Like this is a really dangerous team that keeps winning games, and like we really need to lock in and like play our best game to be able to beat them. Really talented individual players, and I think like systems offensively that we haven't seen that might make it a new challenge for our defense. And then their defense, honestly, like reminds us and me as well, like a bit about our defense, just like very athletic, tight defenders, and we're really gonna have to like run fast and play quick to, I think, beat them. So it's gonna be a great challenge.
Great stuff. Will, thank you for your time. Best of luck tonight.
Thanks, guys.
And last but not least, we'll bring in Justin Burnett, one of the Minnesota defenders that we have been alluding to. Justin, thanks for joining us here again. Championship weekend game day press conferences.
Yeah.
One of the things you said last year was immortalized in like the preseason hype reel, I think, about bringing the attitude of staying relentlessly hungry for your team. How are you able to do that when you don't live locally and you're a traveling player and you have other things going on in your life?
Yeah, hunger is not built from like where you are. Hunger is a mindset. So if you can't have that mindset when you're not in the same place as the rest of your team, then I would say you're not really hungry. You're just kind of like going along with what other people are doing. And I stay hungry, so it really doesn't matter if I'm in a city where none of my teammates live, where all of my teammates live, whether we're in Madison, Minnesota, Oakland, it doesn't really matter. Our mindset doesn't change, and we and I as an individual, stay focused on our goals.
One interesting thing about this team is that you guys are the most experienced team of all the teams that are here this weekend in terms of previous appearances at championship weekend. Of the 20 active players tonight, 17 of them have played in championship weekend previously. 3 that haven't. I'd like to just kind of hear your opinions on them a little bit more. That's Micah, Owen, and Noah. What has their impact been to this team this year? I mean, obviously for a team that has so much experience, for them to crack into that active roster for championship weekend, they've obviously made a big impact. But as a player on the team, I'd love to hear more from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are incredible. They're on our roster for a reason. They've been proving their worth literally all season long. I remember, I think Zach Morton's first game was our first game in Indy. And I mean, he was a revelation to like everyone on the team. Just his end of quarter dominance started there, but he was also just kind of everyone on the field catching unders, catching goals, skying big packs of people, tall people. And we always were like, okay, was this like a once in the game, like lightning rod moment? No, it just continued. Like he never came down from that level. And it's been so incredible to see. Micah, same thing. I think his first game was our Vegas game, and he just kind of went off, and we were like, well, okay, is that just a Vegas thing? No, it just kind of stayed at that level. I mean, you've seen it at U20s. Just last weekend, he had so many crazy plays at the World Ultimate Club Championships. I mean, these are just ballers. They may be young, but they do have experience. They're not shy of the moment, and they know and we know what sort of value they bring to this team. Noah Kuhlman, incredible player, incredible addition. That's something different because we knew who he was coming into the season. We went out and got him intentionally with the goal of adding him and bolstering up. What was really interesting was, coming in, we were like, obviously last season he was like first team all defense, and then coming into this season he plays mainly offense for us, and that's kind of born out of us going at these practice weekends and being like, wow, this guy can do everything. Well, what do we really need? Do we need more stars on our defense, or do we need just a steady hand, a sure factor, distributor and go-getter on our offense, and that's what we needed. And so we told Noah, and he was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. He really is just the guy who is going to be willing to do anything that the team requires of him. And so it's been really incredible to see him like step into that role and just like start to even increase his level as the season goes on. I mean, his best game was the divisional championship, and then that's going to be his second best game after this game, and then that's going to be his third best game after the final. So it's just really incredible to watch all those three guys, and I don't think that we have any doubts about any of their experience or ability to perform at this level.
Justin, we've exchanged messages about it, and we talked about it earlier in the presser too, of how you guys love to play with the lead and have been for most of the season, and Austin loves playing from behind and closing the gaps in crunch time. You're no stranger to making giant plays when the lights are the brightest. And so are you kind of thinking about that potential moment at all where it gets down to crunch time, you're up by a couple goals, and you want to be able to put the nail in the coffin? And how do you guys prevent them from getting back into the game later in the fourth quarter?
Yeah. Firstly, I would say we love playing from behind as well. You earlier asked a question about like the team identity of being scrappy in defense. If you recall, championship weekend last year, we played from behind all last semifinal and came from behind and put that game away. And that's still the identity of this team. I think the difference is just we don't have to do it as much. But I want to make clear that like we're completely comfortable whether we're up, whether we're down, we're still that scrappy team that can fight. Austin is definitely also that. And we are aware of that, aware that they, have a good track record this season of these come from behind wins, playing when down. I think for us, the message is just, that we keep our mentality. A lot of it is, there's been a lot of messaging this year about winning third quarters because we are often up going into that third quarter, and historically that's been an area sometimes of a dip, a lull. It's hard to like keep that same intensity when you're up and then you have halftime, you get to just kind of revel in your performance up to that point, and the other team is over there getting hyped to make a comeback. So it's really hard to kind of keep that mentality, and that's been a big area of focus, and I think we've done well with that this season. So we're just going to keep carrying that mentality forward, that we have to win all four quarters is the goal. And no matter what the score is in the fourth quarter, we're still going out there and giving it our all. We haven't changed our mentality or our identity from that scrappy team that fights to the end.
Justin, you're obviously an incredibly talented player, but not every talented player is one of the best defenders in the league, which you are. What makes that talent into production?
A lot of it, I'd say, is game IQ. I've talked about this before of, like, obviously being athletic, being fast, those are assets to defenders, but what is really like kind of separating that like cream of the crop is the ability to anticipate the flow of the game, where disc is going next, where people are cutting next, where the important space, dangerous space is on the field. And also I want to give a lot of credit to our coaching staff is, playing in a system that that accentuates those weaknesses and, makes it so that you can make a play on that. There's a lot of times that, I may get a D, I may get a poach block or something, but I can do that because I know that my teammate has my back. If I poach, they're coming to cover the lane. They're coming to cover my person. And so there's a lot of system things that I think help. But yeah, it's really all about that IQ, about playing smarter, not necessarily just like playing to try to win because you're more athletic or you're faster or you jump higher.
Looking ahead to tonight's game, what do you see from the Austin offense that you want to try to disrupt? I mean, they haven't necessarily been an absolute elite tier unit in the league, but they're a lot better than they used to be, and they've made some changes to their personnel over the last couple weeks. So how do you deal with the fact that what you have on tape isn't necessarily what you're going to see tonight, and what do you think that they bring to the table?
Yeah, I think personnel changes don't equal system changes, and I think that they're not implementing a system change right now. I think it's just a personnel change, and you can debate about the relative ability of the people that they're switching in and out on their personnel. But what we look for when we watch film is system, because it's the systems that we have to disrupt. The best teams, anyone can step up and be that guy on any given day. And obviously they have their stars. Like, we know their stars, we know Henke, we know Swiatek, and we have our plans for them. But at the end of the day, for us, it is about disrupting their initial systems. What do they want? What are they looking for first? Disrupting that. And so we're not really concerned about the personnel changes at all. We've watched a ton of film. We've watched the divisional championship, the playoff round, all their regular season games. And so we see their tendencies. They're different than some of the teams that we've played, but we have our plans for that. And I think we're ready for that. Yeah.
Justin, last question. 2 years ago, Minnesota won the title. They were called a model franchise. At that point, you were still a member of the Atlanta Hustle. When you were looking at other teams to join, what was it about Minnesota? Obviously, they're the reigning champs, but basically the question is, did you see this coming with the wind chill, the level of consistency, the growth in the fan base, everything that makes them a professional organization? Did you see this coming from the outside, or are you just a happy passenger on this ride?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think this is 100%, I think, the best run franchise in the UFA. And, I won't name names, but I've heard that from other owners in the UFA as well, and other coaches that I've talked to across the past 2 years. And I've seen it for myself and personally. Ben Feldman is an absolute paramount professional with the way that he, general manages this team and runs this team. And it really shows in the way that he kind of approaches players. He approaches it very professionally, much more professionally than I was used to being approached. When I moved, I did have, a bunch of different teams reach out to me. He was the first, and he was by far the best in terms of preparation, like of what they're offering to me as a player. In terms of what he thinks their ceiling is, how I affect that ceiling, and just all of those different things. And so I kind of definitely saw that, hey, this is a different sort of team, sort of franchise that has clear goals, that has a clear actionable plan for reaching those goals, which is, I think, a little bit of a separation, and then has the personnel to achieve the goals that they want, which is obviously a national championship. So yeah, definitely I could see a little bit of this coming. I think that the Wind Chill is a great organization. I'm very happy to be here and to be a part of it. And I think it's going to remain a great organization, and you're going to continue to see these kind of consistent levels of output for a long time, I would say.
Great stuff. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your time this morning. Best of luck tonight, Justin Burnett. That'll wrap up our semifinal Thursday press conferences. Game Day Live with Ian Toner, Colin Camp, and Charlie Hoppus gets underway at 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central. And then myself, Evan Lepler, along with Charlie Eisenhood and Brian Jones, will be with you for the call of the two semifinals tonight. Oakland and New York at 6 Eastern, 5 Central. And then 2.5 hours later, approximately, Minnesota and Austin. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning. We'll see you in just a few hours. Championship weekend.